Welcome to Inside Richmond, the official vodcast of Richmond Rugby Club. My name is Tom Soulsby, and today we're joined by an absolute club icon, legend. He's the social king. He's a man with 148 first-team caps under his belt. It's Mr. Timmy Walford. Timmy, huge welcome to the show. How has life been during lockdown, and you enjoying this nice hot weather?
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting in lockdown. It's been pretty interesting in lockdown. Been chained to the desk mostly, and seen a few of the guys on a bit of a cycle. So started cycling. It's been nice. This hot weather is not really my favourite area. I don't think it's probably the best way of putting it. I'd rather be in a nice, cool environment. I'm sweating here just talking to you.
Yeah, we need to get the fans going. I think we obviously have a huge amount to chat to you today about, Timmy, and a lot of questions from the outer, the most we've had so far. But firstly, we just chatted offline, and you've literally just flown back in from Germany. You tell me it was even hotter there.
Yeah.
For those who really don't know, what do you do as a day job?
So my main client, I'm a project manager. My main client is Premier Inn, and at the moment I'm helping them refurbish hotels in Germany to rebrand them as Premier Inns because they want to make a big splash in that market over there. So this week I was in Hamburg, which is a lovely city, and Eton, which is not so lovely. It's a bit of a hole actually. But yeah, it's nice to be out there, and they've got restaurants open and bars. So I sampled some German beer and some German Riesling and some German steak and various other bits. So it was really good.
And you obviously do a lot of traveling for your job. Do you love that aspect of it?
Yeah. It's good to get out there. It's good to get to go and see different places. It's quite tiring. It can be quite tiring. Especially when I've sat in the same position for 3 months. Traveling around can take it out of you.
Yeah, and you do actually, you travel quite a bit throughout the rugby season, don't you? You normally you're flying back in and out during the week. So hell of an effort, mate. Before we get on to, I guess, your rugby future and the questions from the outer, can you please explain sort of where your rugby journey started, how it all came to be?
A long time ago. I'm aged now. So back at school, started playing there, and then went to boarding school, played there for a bit. Was captain of the first 15, and then had a gap year between going to Durham and leaving school and going to Durham, and I looked up where there was an under-21s club available, and the first place that came up on the internet was Richmond. So I spoke to someone there, and they said, "Oh, come down for training." Assumed it was under-21s training. No, first team training, full second team, everyone there, like 60 boys. Slightly daunting to say the least, but yeah, never looked back. That was 15 years ago, something like that.
You've been a legend here ever since, mate. I'm going to just pick a couple questions from what you just said. You went to school at Eton, I believe.
I did, yeah.
Is it true you have to wear top hats?
Don't have to wear top hats, no.
So that's not true.
It is full tails. It is full tails, but no top hats, not anymore.
You captained the first team there, obviously. What position were you? Have you always been a prop?
I have always been a prop, but there was a brief stint when I was in the under-16s where I was flanker. And that was a blindside flanker, I'd like to point out. And that was an interesting year for me. I didn't make it very far. Scrums were really good. The scrums were great.
Yeah, just hang on the side.
After that, there was not much. What's that?
Oh, I just said just hang on the side, don't you, as a flanker?
Yeah, exactly. Push really hard. That was the important thing.
Yeah. And you mentioned there you went on a gap year. Where did you go?
So I spent 6 months in London working and playing for Richmond. And then I went off skiing to Whistler for 6 months. Wow. Which was 3.5 months or whatever it was. But it was fantastic.
Would you say you're a A good skier?
Well, to describe it, it's very easy for me to go quickly, so people don't see the style. But because obviously I'm a little carrying the extra weight that people don't have. So if I zoom past them on the slopes, then it's yeah, very easy for people to say I'm a good skier because they haven't seen the technique. But yeah, I like to think I can ski properly.
Yeah, I think. Has Richmond ever been on a skiing trip, or do you think that would be something on the cards?
We would know. We would never get that signed off. It would be chaos, not just because of the skiing, but the icy conditions, people pissed. Think about it. I mean, it would just be. I'd love to go, but I think we would never get signed off for it.
No. What do you remember of your first Richmond cap?
So it was me and Chris Tanusi, who were on the bench for the ones, and we were away in some god awful place. I can't really remember, but got subbed on, and Bobby Skinstad was at 8, and he went, Timmy, just hold the scrum and I'll do the rest. And I remember getting up from the scrum and Bobby Skinstad storing under the post one-handed, and that was kind of the welcome to Richmond first team sort of thing that I got. This legend scoring a try from 25 yards out or whatever.
What was it like playing with those guys in those early days, those guys like Bobby Skinstad?
Just they had kind of an aura around them as well. So they were, Bobby was working in London, so he was out quite a lot entertaining and I think doing various other bits. They just turn up on the weekend, blow people away, and it was Dan Taberner was playing at 9, I think, and he was an ex-Durham lad, so we got chatting over that, and so it was great, really, quite welcoming and hearty. The fullback who's still around the club sometimes. It's very welcoming guys, most of them, and of course Owen Gregory. I mean, how could anyone forget the man, the legend?
Absolutely.
But yeah, all the guys were great, and do miss them. And when I see them down the club, it's always nice to reminisce.
You also mentioned that you left the club for a bit and went up and did you studied at Durham Uni.
Yeah.
Can you sort of explain how you found your experience up north? Did you play any football while you were there?
No, so yeah, it was Durham's one of the best universities in the country. I can't, it's better than Loughborough, definitely. Just in case anyone's wondering. And so yeah, just a great experience. I made some really good friends up there, and the lifestyle was pretty heavy duty. So I practiced my drinking for coming back down to London. But yeah, it's a beautiful city, and the people are lovely up there. And ended up playing for the county, so I got to meet a few of the local lads who, on more than one occasion, might have pulled me out of a sticky situation on a Saturday night in the rough streets of Durham. But yeah, it was good. It was a great place to be.
I can imagine. You obviously then came back to Richmond afterwards.
Yeah.
Were you always planning on coming back to our club, or did you have any other options?
So I was always training with Richmond through the Christmas and summers and stuff like that, because it was good just to see the lads. And then the summer after leaving university, there was talk of staying up north and in the academy for Falcons. I just went, nah, bugger that. I'm coming back down to London, get a job, and start playing again for Richmond. Spiritual home.
Yeah, and you've been here ever since. We know that. You're up to 148 first cap.
Yes, I was very disappointed. Very disappointed not to get my 150 last year.
So was I, mate. I was ready to do the 150 interview. We'll have to wait.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
we'll have to wait. How do you think, if you get there, and I'm sure you will, how will you celebrate 150?
Quietly, probably. Just a couple of quiet drinks in the sun, maybe in the Horseshoe of Justice. Hopefully, get walloped and have a good shellacking in the evening. That'd be good
normal.
Just the normal, mate. Well, why break something that's perfect, right?
Looking back, I guess, at your time at Richmond, what are some of those memories on the pitch that really spring to mind? Are we talking promotion?
Promotion was fantastic, and I think there's a picture of us celebrating and that kind of capped it off. Just amazing achievement by some reprobates, basically some good, talented reprobates. And then we've got, scoring a try is always a classic. I've scored so few of them I can remember them. They're all 50-yard dashes, and there was a lot of sidestepping involved and twirling and stuff like that. So but I guess promotion definitely, and then the final game of that season when we got the cup, and Plymouth, I think we played, who'd beaten us, something like that. And the celebration on the pitches afterwards from both sides was great. Also playing London Irish has to be up there as well. Good old Franksy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, there's almost too many to mention. I mean, Oktoberfest every year is one of my favourite times off the pitch. So, I like dressing up in a skirt. So,
you do look good, Timmy. So,
it's the cleavage, Tom. You got to keep your eyes up, mate. Eyes up.
You mentioned the Ben Franks thing. We've actually got a question about that later on, so we'll get back to that.
Yeah, of course.
But yes, as a front rower, as a prop, we've had some really, I guess, strong scrum coaches at Richmond. John Kingston, I believe, has helped out with the scrum.
Yeah.
As has Adam Jones. Can you touch on those blokes and how influential they've been for you?
So I only had John for a couple of sessions, but he was very. I think he asked us the question, "What do you do in the scrum?" And I said, "Push really hard." To which he looked slightly confused, but we had no tactics or anything at that point. So when Jonesy came in, he put in a real good structure for us to try and push ourselves further up the ladder of achievements in scrummaging. And I think if you look at some of the years we've had, we've had Will Bridges-Clark, who was incredible, Craig Trenier, we've still got Danny Parkinson, you've got your Jimmy Litchfields. I mean, there's just a plethora of amazing talent that we've got in the front row. It's just they come to Richmond and they like it, and that's where they stay, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess why they like it is because of the social aspect of our club, which is massive. It's massively important. And you are renowned as being the man, the social king. Do you enjoy that aspect?
I think it is the aspect of the club that makes it so unique. Obviously, yeah, great. We're amateur club in a professional league, blah blah blah. But actually, if the people didn't enjoy hanging around with each other afterwards, you'd see a lot less success on the pitch. I'm not saying it prepares you for being on the pitch, but it helps people stick together through the tough sessions and stuff like that, and going down to Cornish Pirates on a Sunday and that sort of thing, because you're with your mates and you know them really well, and you're out together as one, really.
Yeah, and you are normally the man in charge of the social and in charge of the bus ride home. Is this a role you've developed over your years? Do you think you're at your highest level now?
I think there's always something you can learn. If you're not learning, you're not taking any steps forward. But I feel we've got a good system down. It started back in 2012 or 2011 when we were going to Red Ruth, and we'd underestimated how much booze we needed for a 7.5 hour coach journey. So we stopped in Bristol and called a dial of booze person who came to the petrol station to drop off more. So from that moment on, vowed never to run out again. And since to that day, I don't think we have, which has always been fun.
Absolutely.
I
have during lockdown, I've obviously been going back through the old club's YouTube channel. Lots of videos on there. But at the very start of the YouTube channel, there are some interviews that you did, post-match interviews with Hilly and so forth. How did those come about? And was media something you wanted to get into?
So it was probably in the infancy of the media for the club, and I was out with one of my many shoulder injuries, and I was asked to do some bits. So I said, of course, love to. There's nothing better than trying to ask a tricky question to someone that's just walked off a pitch, or you know the feeling, Tom. You've done it before, or before a game when someone's trying to prep. You love that.
It's the best part of the job.
You know to pick the right people now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a very long time ago.
And let's fast forward now. Let's fast forward to next season. The big question: you're playing on, aren't you?
I am at the moment. If it's kind of dependent on what these new rules are going to be like, because if there's no scrummaging, I mean, as much as my sidestep and my kick are legendary, I don't think I'll be required as much as a flanker that can play prop will be required. If you see my meaning. Not that I won't be still around the club, obviously, but
yeah,
I'd like to understand more about the rule changes. I'm sure we all would actually.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's a really good point. And what do you what excites you about Richmond being back in the championship? You've played 3 seasons there. Why is this so special?
I think it's where we belong. Really, I think it's proof that you don't have to have all the money in the world to challenge the people that do have all the money in the world. You've got people chucking money at these clubs, not seeing any rate of return, and it's very frustrating because I think people get caught up in it quite a lot, in the money and everything like that. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be a professional game or whatever, but actually you've got to get something that fundamentally works. But it'd be interesting to see how Gallagher's pull the Premiership and the Championship and what they're going to do about it, because I think they managed to turn around F1, I think it was. So it'll be interesting to see what their plans are once everything sort of gets back and running. But I think it'll be 2, maybe 3 years before we're settled into whatever new COVID-19 format we're going to have, basically.
Yeah.
If they're still hanging around.
Yeah, and if scrums are, if they're back to normal, back as they always have been,
as they should be.
Which pack in the championship have you enjoyed playing against in the past, and which one would you look forward to playing against again?
I think they're always challenges wherever you look, and there's some guys I've played. I mean, the Jersey props I've played at different levels before. When they had Salah playing for them. I've known him since I started at Richmond, sort of thing. So, and he's obviously not there anymore. He's at China. But I think you get, with each pack, you often see people you always see. And because we're often head to head most of the time, you do get to be on quite good terms with some of them, and not quite so good a terms as others. They're probably I mean, London Scottish is always a good pack to absolutely dominate, and I mean, obviously London Irish when we played them was brilliant. But yeah, it's different certainly.
And what would be your advice for, say, a young Richmond prop who potentially might break into the first team next season and come up against some of these big scrums?
Make sure you stay low, and that's it. If you can get lower than them, then you pretty much won the battle. But it's don't be afraid to try different techniques, because what works for some people doesn't work for others. There's lots of ways to skin a cat. Yeah,
absolutely. Right, Timmy. I think we've got to that time. We've whizzed through the first part, but now it's time for the questions from the outer, which we've all been looking forward to. So there's quite a few of these from our social media followers and members. So strap yourself in. Get another can down you. And
I'm just going to get another can.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah,
he's back. He's refueled. First question here from a fellow prop in David Banfield. Banners, thank you for your question. He kicks things off with, if you went to Hogwarts, what house would you be in?
Hufflepuff, probably. Pretty easygoing house. Yeah, pretty easygoing house. Yeah, fit in. They seem like they would be the ones having a party. They're not really that bothered about saving the world or anything else. So.
I would agree. Here we go. This is from, here we go, an unnamed member.
Is it going to be rude then if they're unnamed?
potentially. What is the heaviest? What is the heaviest you have been, Timmy? And what weight are you currently?
So probably 137, 138 kilos, and currently sitting around the 130 mark. But I haven't weighed myself since I got back from Germany, so could be either way. I did do one run when I was in Germany, so
Well, you need to balance that against that German beer, mate.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Here we go. Next one here from Hamish Graham. So, Hambo, thank you for your question.
Tasty.
He asked you, any costume ideas for an upcoming club social?
Costume ideas for the upcoming club social. Something that shows off your legs.
As you always do.
As you always do, yeah.
Next question here from a former Richmond man and Craig Trenier, good mate of yours, I believe.
Good old trends.
For any young aspiring props, what are your top 3 Timmy tips for success?
Always be polite. You don't get anywhere unless you work hard, and never go drinking with Trenier. That's probably it.
Very good. Gibbo's up next. Jamie Gibbs, of course. If you had to estimate how many yum-yums you have had since birth, what would be the number?
Probably close to, so let's say 4 yum-yums every weekend since I was born. So what's that? That's 200 yum-yums a year. So 60,000, 70,000 roughly. Sometimes I have more than 4. Yeah, it's quite a few, that, isn't it? Basically keeping Marks and Spencer's open.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Moving on, here's Tom Dewars. I don't know if you know Tom.
Yes, Tom Dewars. Yes, I do. Yes.
What's your secret to remaining so youthful and good looking?
Surround myself with uglier people. Spending a lot of time with Dewars helps, yeah.
There you go. Good answer. Here we go. Dante, club photographer.
Legend,
Thank you, Dante. Which establishment in southwest London does the best chocolate milkshake?
Marks and Spencer's, without a shadow of doubt. Belgian chocolate.
Yeah.
Straight down the line. Oh, yeah.
So it's always M&S.
Yeah, always M&S. Always M&S.
Very good. And yeah, that leads directly into my next question from a Insta account. What is your favorite brand of chalky milk? But I guess that's M&S, is it?
M&S, yeah, would be M&S. Sorry, boring answer, but it's. I've tried a lot of them, as you can probably tell.
What I don't understand, Timmy, is why we're not sponsored by M&S.
I have been trying for years. I mean, yum-yums and chocolate milk every game day would be amazing. I mean, that's like my diet anyway.
Yeah. Next question here from Ed Bruce.
Bruce E.
Who's the best tourist you've been with overseas?
Well, it's not you, mate, unfortunately. Probably the best. There's probably got to be a couple of people here. So Luke Jones, the draftsman, putting himself to bed early. Jack Alcock, fantastic tourist, banned us from going to Montenegro. Chris Davies, always away. I mean, Trenier. I mean, they're all great. You know what I mean? Danny Parkinson. Yeah. But yeah, there's always some characters out there. That's what makes touring fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it leads right into my next question from another unnamed member. But who would you select in your all-time best touring forward pack?
Now, so Lou said, I'll be Lou said. Fippo 2, 3, tough one, probably between Parky and Trenier, I guess. 4, Warden, because he gets sulky about day 3 and has to take himself off. 5, Lenny, because he doesn't speak, so he's pretty helpful. 7, is that open side? Jack. 6, blind side. Sarge was always class on tour. And 8, probably Chris Davies. But yeah, that would be a good start. And then usually what happens on tour is you end up with most of the players being forwards anyway, so because the backs can't really handle it. So
yeah. Good shout. Next question here from Jez Cunyu. So Jez, thank you.
Cheers. Up.
He says, I've heard you're quite handy on a bike. How's that featuring in your pre-season training?
It is, as many people know, I'm now a keen cyclist, so I've got a Strava app on my phone, which is regularly used. Please follow me. You'll see that I've done several bike rides in the last 3 months. It's a good way to get out, and when we were properly locked down, it was good to cycle with the other boys, because we tuck in nicely behind each other. People actually often stop and stare. This massive, heavy peloton goes past, like, quite slowly, but all tucked in behind someone else. It's great fun.
I'd love to see it.
And I only fell off once so far. So
hey, good work. Nick Beavitt.
Bevitt,
there you go. What are you benching these days, Timmy?
How much does he weigh? About your weight, Bevitt, probably. Maybe a little bit more.
Very good. Next one here, a bit more of a serious one from Paul Brown. So, Paul, thank you. It says he's asked you, how did it feel to pack down against an All Black winning prop in Ben Franks?
Terrifying, if I'm honest. I thought I was going to be sniffing my bum for the whole game, but it worked out really well, and Matt Qualker was behind me and helped unbelievably in that to at least keep parity in most scrums. But yeah, he was a big bloke and didn't say very much at scrum time. So yeah, it was one that will live with me for a long time, I think.
Yeah, awesome achievement, mate.
Yeah, that's good.
Here we go then. So Will Warden is here. Wards, after being interviewed a few weeks ago, he's now dishing out some questions for you. Okay, so we've got a few of these, so we'll kick off. What does one need to do to be invited to the front row dinner?
Be a good lad. Sorry, Wards.
So I'm guessing Wards has never been to the front row.
He's been invited. He just couldn't come, and then his invite was rescinded forevermore. Then,
here we go. Next question from Wards is: do you think you'll ever let anyone else control the whip money?
No, not until I die. That's mine. That's mine. You don't know how to do it. You just don't know how to do it. There's a certain way it has to be done. Yeah.
He's a professional. Leave it with him.
Yeah.
And then next question: are you grooming anybody to be your successor at the club?
Those who are in Argentina will remember how I tried to give Cam Hudson the fines book, but he was too pissed to speak and kept drooling everywhere. So I was thinking Cam Hudson could take it over, but now there's many options. Cam Mitchell can maintain order for most parts, I think. But yeah.
And his final question for you: who would you snog, marry, or avoid? You've got three people: Craig Trenier, Danny Parkinson, or Jimmy Litchfield.
Marry Trenier, snog Jimmy, avoid Parky.
Oh, jeez.
That was a difficult one.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll leave it out of that.
Yeah.
Couple questions here. I think these are from your relatives, if not your wife, Lucy. Is it true you have the best wife in the world?
I do have the best wife in the world. Yeah.
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 And
then
that's
the right answer. Good.
And then Tom asks you, is it true you have the best brother-in-law in the world?
It is true. I've got the best brother-in-law in the world. Well done. Thanks, Tom.
Brilliant stuff. Timmy, that brings us to a close. A fantastic episode, mate. Thank you so much for your time. And
it's great to see you.
Yeah, having a good yarn, a good chuckle with me. Yeah. And I'm sure when I say this, all Richmond folk can't wait to get back to the Rag and have a beer with you, mate.
4th of July. Come one, come all.
Yeah, when we hopefully will reopen. But yeah, Timmy, thank you so much, mate. Thank you for your time. Everyone
Thanks,
else,
Tom. Lovely to see you, mate.
You too. This has been another episode of Inside Richmond, the official podcast of Richmond Rugby Club. See you next time for another episode. Cheers, guys.